Every life has a story, and every story is worth sharing. Your story, my story, and our story speak of victory and defeat, joy and sorrow, resilience and vulnerability. They are not just our story, they are Christ's story in us. They are Kingdom Stories from Down Under.
She walked into my office with her husband, desiring to find out more about the supernatural ministry and how they can engage in loving other people and showing them the true supernatural aspect of our God. They have been Christians, they have been in a conservative church, they understood the love of God, but they haven't stepped in the full measure of the ministry. Since then, when that journey began, the Lord has taken her with me on the various mission trips and on a long journey that has spanned over 4 years at the moment. And tonight it is a joy to have with us a Kingdom Stories from Down Under, Grace Eberg. Welcome, Grace.
Hi, Nathaniel.
It's probably 4 or 5 years, I'm not sure, probably more.
Yeah, since 2017.
2017, so 2021, I was right, 4 years. When you came into my office with
with Robert.
Robert, and interested in the Australian School of Ministry at the time. Robert wanted to study and he wanted to grow. He had a massive desire to understand more about God because he had a heart for ministry. So Christianity wasn't enough for him for his own salvation and own, eternal benefit. All of a sudden, something awoke in him. When did that awakening happen in him?
Well, I know he came wanting to be a pastor.
Yes.
He wanted to preach the gospel. That's always in his heart, but he wanted to be equipped because, he said, I could be a chaplain at the motorcycle club that he belongs to. He thinks he can, but to be that chaplain, you got to have a bit of equipment, and other things that he wanted to do. So that was 2017.
Where did the desire start? Because you had been to Malaysia on a trip with him.
Yeah, he did. Also, he completed actually through 3 months of very intense, very demanding course called the School of Ministry, run by the Dongling Seminary. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that course, what happened was he just it was just incredible for him. He just I think his body just gave up because that was the year before that he was diagnosed with incurable disease called motor neuron disease, or MND. It has got no cure because it's not been found, and yes. And Robert always thought he'll be the exception. There will be healing for him, but time was short.
Yeah,
and the prognosis always was like 1.5 years to 7 or 9, depending on which strain it is that you or which type.
So you decided to walk along with him on this journey and give him every opportunity to become equipped.
Oh, for sure. I says, I'll be there with you.
Yeah.
I'm here with you for the long haul. That's what we are here for. I mean, I knew.
How did you find the Australian School of Ministry? How did you find us?
All right. So when we came back, that was in 2017. We talked about it to other people. So how can I serve here in Perth? And then somebody, a couple at this healing house that we attend on a Tuesday, it's a prayer meeting.
Yeah.
Recommended you. So.
Oh.
And then after that, I found out more about it from Ross.
Okay.
Ross Woods, yes.
Yeah.
And because he comes to my school to moderate a few things with me in the music education program that we take from him.
Wonderful. Well, I am glad that we began this journey.
Yes.
And, obviously, since then we've journeyed quite closely, and also with the church and with the mission trips. But we're going to rewind a little bit back, a little bit about yourself. You were born in Malaysia.
Yeah.
How many siblings?
No, I was born in Ipoh.
Ipoh. Nice.
A beautiful place. And
Yeah.
when things settle, I think you should come and visit.
I will.
And I'll take you.
We were going to go to Kuala Lumpur last year, but
Yes,
COVID
I
hit,
know.
and we actually had booked, to be
I
there.
know, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to have a family vacation
For
there.
sure. I think it will happen one day.
Well, we've been part of the mission trip to KL,
Yes,
but just
yes.
briefly, just
True.
for,
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to
So born in Ipoh, how many siblings?
four. I have three. Four of us, four girls. I'm the third.
Okay.
Yeah, we were born in a Christian family, and I
Okay.
realized after a bit of research that we are the fourth generation. I thought it was third, but fourth generation Christians
Oh,
in
wonderful.
Malaysia.
So your parents migrated from China?
No. Great grandparent.
Okay.
I thought it was just my grandfather, but it had turned out to be my great grandfather, who was already a Christian in China.
Whoa.
Well, that was in the early 1900s. That was quite new news for me too. But then my grandfather, was a Christian who was a schoolmaster
Yes.
in a town called Kampar, another mining town. That town has flourished tremendously, but at that time he was, in the schoolmaster, as well as he loved the Bible. He just and he became a lay preacher of the Chinese Methodist Church
Wonderful.
in Kampar. And he was quite a person that did a lot for the community, for that church. Apparently, he was very active in that role.
So you've got pretty good heritage there.
With heritage, as in Christian heritage,
Yeah.
we had a lot of values and culture and all that drummed into
Discipline.
us from young.
So both mom and dad.
Yeah, Mum was from the Brethren Gospel Hall
Uh-huh.
from the other church, but when they got married, they're Christians. My mom's father was, and my mother, my grandma, they were very strong Christians.
Okay.
Absolutely, I think that has been drummed
So
into
you grew
us.
up in Malaysia. At the time, it wasn't that a strong Muslim nation. It was more, Christianity wasn't persecuted, was it?
No, not at all.
No.
Impossible. And it was just easy. Everybody could be what they are. And for Ipoh, I thought I had very nice friends, Malay, Chinese, Indian friends. We didn't think much of that at that time. For example, we would go for Sunday school every Sunday. My parents would just leave us on the bus.
Yeah.
A bus would pick us up, and then my younger sister and I, we always do everything together. There's two of us always hang out together, and we went to Sunday school, which was also in Methodist Girls' School. It was my school, while they go off to another church. So it just left us to go on this bus. I thought it so trusting, and I think come to think about it,
That's good.
Yeah, just picked us up and off we go.
So what's your first memory of childhood? 4, 5, 6?
I think when we moved to this house, it was a much bigger house and probably 6 years old. And our grandparents came to live with us, and they were from Kampar, and they moved up because they're in their 70s. And my parents said, okay, it's lovely having your grandparents, and they lived downstairs while we all were upstairs.
Yes.
And I always remembered my memory of my granddad he was just pouring hours and hours on reading the Bible, or at night he would be just seeing a little lamp on, and he would just love the commentaries and the concordance.
Yeah.
He was a schoolmaster who taught English, I suppose, because later on when I met a classmate of him,
Yes.
who went to Penang Free School with him many years later, it was in Johor Bahru, and he said, your grandfather has incredible penmanship. And I could see it in some of his books and his writings.
Yes.
And in the Bible or concordance, he would make notes, and incredible. The penmanship is just impeccable.
Calligraphy.
Yes, it's incredible. And I think for him, but he always wanted to learn about the Bible. And I remembered, ordering a tricycle, we call it,
Yes.
and he would go head downtown to Ipoh and go to Lebroy House, it's a Christian bookshop, the best and the only one, and he would order all these commentaries, because I didn't know at that time, but now I inherited some of them.
Yes.
And in that time, he would have spent hundreds of dollars,
Yeah.
and it was big money. At that time, he would just
course.
go for it. And when he ordered them, and when they arrived in the house, I remembered looking at them, and then my father said, wow. So that was my granddad. And
And school-wise, what school did you attend?
Methodist school at Iburg.
You had to.
I suppose all my siblings, my sisters were all there. That was natural. I was only in the primary school because after that, my parents moved down to Johor Bahru.
Okay, close to Singapore.
My dad and mom, yeah. So it was probably work-wise, and then so relocated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just next to Singapore. And
Teenage years? How were they?
Oh, I was only 11 years old. Yeah, still in the primary school.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued there. And
Big change for you?
Yes and no, because at that time when you're Ipoh, a big change in terms of the food here is weird. It's changed.
Yeah,
It's common, but I think for me, I think we had a lot of cousins growing up.
yeah,
Dad was the only son of my granddad, so a lot of cousins would come at every opportunity of birthdays or big, Christmas or celebration, and they would come to our house in Ipoh because that would be nice. And I had all these cousins around me. So when we moved down, I think that part had that was lacking. I think only much later that I thought, let's reestablish some of that. That will bring us back now and then to Ipoh.
Were you close to your sisters, the older and the younger, or
Yes,
mainly with the younger one?
I suppose, in that Ipoh house, it was a rather large house, but for me when I was young, it was large. But we only had all of girls. We were all in one. It's just in one big bedroom together.
Yes.
We all just slept. You could hear everybody, talk at night, or what my older sisters would be, dreaming of, and we were all just rolled together. But we all different separate beds, but all in one. I thought that was quite unusual. Come to think of it, yeah. So it was a house renovated for my grandparents, and a study and a piano room and stuff like that. So I learned the piano. My mother made sure that we had lessons,
Yeah.
and that's quite common. And I think that I took that all the way, for me. And that's has been a strong part of my life already.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Mm.
Any rebellious period in your teenage years? Did you try anything? I don't know, boys, alcohol, parties?
What do you think?
Well, I don't want to think. I don't want to go there. I think you should go there.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to go there.
Okay. I think let's go there because the short answer is, of course, no. Because I don't know why. I come to think of it as I thought when you invited me, you might ask me this. I thought so. I was reflecting.
You listened to too many kingdom stories before. Eh? You came prepared. Most people don't come prepared.
Oh, really?
It's not fair. You came prepared.
Yeah,
You've seen this before.
Yeah, because it can't be helped because he said you must all listen to the kingdom stories, and I think I have done a few of them. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
But what I say is, from young, I didn't understand why I always showed up in church. I was always available, even when I was young.
Yeah.
And that I always had a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that even at a young age, the church would say, Grace, since you're coming, you should be the evangelism chairman.
Yeah.
And I was only about 13 years old. All right. Another time, you should do worship and music. Take that portfolio, that department.
So you're very musical.
Yes, yes.
When did you start playing music?
At 6 or 7 years old. We learned piano lessons and we just learned it,
All of you?
Yeah, all the girls. Mom and dad put us through lessons.
Nice.
Mm.
And was music something you enjoyed? Or you just did it because you had to do it?
I enjoyed it all the time, mostly. It is only when when the family is watching TV in the next room, all of them are, and because I had to practice piano in the study, and Mom had to put a timer, and only when the timer rings, I can get up from this chair. That was when I was a bit upset. That was the only time.
Yeah.
And I think, but somehow that instilled that discipline. Even without the timer, I would just go over and just keep playing. Yeah. It was only at that time when I wanted to be with the family next room. So I can only remember that time when I was just upset. I didn't want to play anything. So I just sat there. I thought I did, but but other than that, it was just continuously the discipline just went on and I kept going as far as I could think of going. And it was actually a dream that I wanted to be involved in music education.
Yeah. So is that what you pursued when you finished your 12?
I did. A few other things. I did the licentiate first, the diploma, then
In music?
in music. Yeah.
In KL? Or in...
No, in Singapore.
Singapore.
It was called the Trinity College.
So when did you move to Singapore?
I didn't. My parents were always in JB. It doesn't take long. It doesn't an hour to get there. It just
Across the border.
Yeah.
So you went to college in Singapore?
You can just do it externally.
Okay, so travel every day across the border?
Yeah. It's not something I would be teaching to get enough money to.
Yeah.
So that is an external exam. You just
it's
show up in the exam
distance learning.
Yeah. Yeah, you get teachers in Singapore.
So you began teaching music at an early age?
Yeah, very early age. I was just teaching or playing for money.
Yeah.
I used to play at a ballet school for money. It was $3 an hour. I remember.
Fantastic for that time.
Well, if you play for exams, it's $6 an hour.
That's nice.
It was pretty good. But it had really helped my sight reading because I had to play anything that moves,
Yeah.
As long as they move, I had to play. And everything that they throw in front of me, I had to play.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it really took my sight reading to another level.
Okay. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So then you did a diploma in music?
Yes.
And then you went to university?
Yeah, I did a Trinity licentiate, and then I went to Australia. I wanted to be in Australia. At that time, it was called the New South Wales Conservatorium of Music.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a bachelor's of music education that I got in, and it was a dream. It was 4 years, and I really, whatever I learned, and I made so many new friends. I was the only foreigner, I made so many interesting friends who really loved life so much. And I think if ever I've whatever I put to practice was everything I have actually learned because it was something I enjoyed doing.
Yeah. So you moved to Australia, or you just came as a student to Australia?
As a student.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a student.
And that was in Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney Conservatorium of Music.
Okay. So 4 years as an international student in Sydney?
Yes.
Challenging?
Yes.
You stayed on campus?
No. Yes and no, because there's no campus. But we stayed at what I called they're called Deaconess House, which is part of Moore Theological College, which is in Sydney, the grounds of Sydney University, just next to it. Yeah, if you know that place. Okay. So that was really nice because it was a Christian environment, and because I had no money, they were able to employed me as a cook or breakfast cook. There was a job for breakfast cook, and I put up my hand and said, "Okay, you can do it." So you had to wake up at like 5 a.m. to do the eggs or to put everything out and get everything ready. So that was interesting, and I managed to, they paid pretty well.
Yeah,
there were many at that time, many middle part-time jobs you can do. You could be a page turner, door opener for artists, for concerts. Box office, a whole bunch of jobs.
There's a lot of events.
Heaps for the school.
Nice. Did you love Sydney?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Every minute. I had family there. I still do. My uncle, my aunt, my cousins.
So you visited a lot?
Oh, I stayed with them for the first year. And after that, it was much nearer for me to stay in Sydney.
And sightseeing?
I think I was a good student. I had to practice 6 hours a day on the average, but sometimes 2 is fine enough. So I hardly go anywhere.
Yeah. Were you obsessed a little bit with studies?
Yeah, with practicing, because you had to do 2 concerts a term. And
so was it just the piano or something else as well?
Part of music education is quite rigorous. You have to do performance as one of them, and because I like to do it better than them, so I had to practice a bit more, and I had a good teacher. And part of the other things are like practice teaching and a whole bunch of other studies and psychology and a whole bunch of things. It was fun. We were sent out to teach in all sorts of high schools.
It's music?
Music, yeah.
Because this was a combined degree, wasn't it?
Music and education.
Education.
Yeah.
Were you going to church during this time?
Oh yeah, we went. Yeah, I did. And there was a very strong youth movement as well. What we call overseas Christian. I wasn't that active. It's very well organized in Sydney. Mm-hmm. So I think because I was so active when I was young in Malaysia, in the youth leadership thing, and that has, I would say, I had a lot of good mentors in my life when I was young.
Wonderful.
And I always thought about them as somebody, I always thank God and said, those people were in my life at the right time.
Yes.
To help me out with this and that,
Beautiful.
I know because I said, okay, I'll be this person. I'll be the president of this group, or I'll do the leadership for this.
Yeah.
Or they appoint you, and then there were mentors set aside for me to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So that had been that growth spiritually. Yes. Some of them I thought, oh, those were a lot of works, righteousness, but that was part of the growth.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought well of me, or, oh, you can do that. And after that, I think when I was in Sydney at that time, I was more alone, like, oh, I got to get the real person out. This is not, there are other things I need to be, and so on.
So were you really yourself? Did you know your identity, or were you growing into it?
The course will, if not, this course will help you too, because it's more cultural about, and I have to get this cultural identity, and I've got this educational psychology. And a lot of times, you won't believe it, but I did a lot of, much later, emotional intelligence, which is one of the things I really was interested in. That was much later, but it was also talked about at that time.
Yes.
And the depth that I went to it was for a paper that I did.
Wow.
I think it was much later for the master's degree. So it was only one of them. Because there was...
Boys didn't enter your life at that time?
Yeah, I suppose the classmates. Yes,
No dating,
It didn't work out that way, I suppose. It was...
You kept away. You kept to yourself?
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
It came much later, I think.
Okay.
Things developed.
But you were focused on your studies? Too focused?
I always had a bunch of friends, and I didn't have anybody.
Okay. So what happened after uni? Did you stay in Australia? You went back to Singapore?
Yeah, I stayed for a bit, and then, I went back, of course, Singapore to, there were some problems at home, so I had to come home, and after that, it was automatic to work in Singapore because it's where I was, and I ended up in this school that, for at least 13 years of my life, I was their music teacher. I looked after this music department and designed the course for them. It is one of the top schools, premier schools in Singapore, where it's a very prodigious school with produced a lot of wonderful entrepreneurs and whatnot. And even the music scene is incredible. There are a lot of leaders in that, businessmen and a lot. I would say some of the students I had at that time are now in their 40s. And, because...
It makes you a bit young.
Sometimes, nowadays with Facebook, they can find you.
That's right.
And they dropped me one of them this is the top one. She's hit this student. It's called Keith. I'm very proud of him.
Yes.
Because he's gone way above me, way beyond. And he's at Richmond, because long ago, at that time, there was a scholarship from the American school. And because I recommended him, his life just completely
took off
there. And he did. And now he's in orchestras, he plays in the church, he does everything.
What does he play?
I think he's a pianist, he's a keyboardist, but he does everything,
Wonderful.
So I would say, Keith Tan, you've done me so proud.
Praise God.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of other people I can't say, but I know. But it is one of those kind of schools where a lot of nurturing has gone into it. And I'm very proud of the I think I'm always someone who updates and makes sure the system works. And,
So very committed to the job, to the career. Not getting married still. You're in your mid-20s, late 20s?
Oh, yeah, I would say... I suppose there was some love interest there, but nothing. I was so committed to the school, but there were also other people in my life, but it wasn't to be. I think that didn't turn out that way, which is for the better, much better. And I think after 13 years, when I left it, just before year 2000, I remembered, I never knew anything else but that kind of life, in an institution where. And I remember having this bunch of keys in my hands that I had held for all these years. And I didn't want to give them up, It was so hard. And then they had to come to my house and collect it. Said, "You want it? Come and get it." It was so weird.
Yeah.
And never feeling of separation. Of
It was your identity.
Yeah. And on reflection, I wished I had maybe stepped away from that even earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, because it allowed me to pursue other things, which is what I did after that. And you won't believe I did the masters, and after that I started.
So you went and did the masters after those years.
Yes.
In Singapore now.
No, I was. It was an opportunity that provided itself from the National Arts. And
In Australia.
No, it was in the Philippines.
In the Philippines. So you traveled there, or you did it via distance?
I did it there for 1.5 years.
So you went to the Philippines for 1 year?
Yeah, I lived there.
In where? What town? In Manila or?
Yes.
Just outside Manila?
UP, Quezon City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. The life there was just.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Well, you well traveled, much more than I knew.
Yeah, but it was a different life culture. Actually, it was just amazing. It was just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was happy.
Yeah, they are quite happy people, aren't they? The Filipinos.
Yeah. But the music, the standard of music, the level was, I must say, is what we went to was rigorous because they were still stuck with the old Spanish and American way of literature, and so there was one very pedantic about things and it should be done this way, and it helped me a lot.
Yeah,
I remember doing my.
You're very regimented.
Yeah,
very regimented.
For them.
You are.
Already.
Yeah, aren't you? You're quite disciplined.
And because of the thesis I had to write, and it was one which is what do you call that, research, experimental, pre and post and all that. And that helped one of those things. And that's when I remembered, I thought I could do something with EQ, but at that time, and the reason I didn't was because I thought there's no sense of measurement. How are you going to measure?
Yeah.
Yeah, impossible. So, okay. Forget it,
Yeah.
But it's something you feel, you can't measure it, and there's nowhere that has come up
Well, you
with
have to feel it.
measurement.
It's subjective.
For those areas. So, okay, back to I think all that, I started a company in 2000. I remember at the end of a period called SARS, because you can't talk, you can't, I do choirs, you can't sing, nobody knows what happened, you can't even go out. So that's when I registered for a company, and I called it Music Smart. It wasn't taken, it was certainly in Singapore, it was a company, and that company was allow me to design programs. At that time, the music program for the niche market was primary school, young children, and that's where it all should start. And then later on, I started developing programs of speech and drama and dance for other people. And as we worked together, and it just took on a life of its own. And I thought, I could have done this earlier.
Wonderful. Is that program still being run somewhere?
It would have been, but that's because currently pandemic, it's just all had to stop. It was just run last year, in fact. One of them that we developed, the one in music, died its own death because I was running it, because I was here in Perth and it was there. So, but the other two.
So how did you come back to Australia? What happened after the Philippines?
All right, so
you came back to Singapore?
Yeah, so I started this company. That was when I think Robert came into my life. And so
how did that happen?
Well, this is a question you should ask Robert, because when he tells it,
I'd love to.
It's it's so more interesting, it's so more romantic. Because when I tell it, I will tell you, okay, we met.
Fact.
Yeah, we met, as a matter of fact, at the airport. And then he was going somewhere else, and then he said, he was sort of, it was at a time when, we chatted, and then, when you give up business cards.
Yeah.
It was common to do that because I had business.
Yeah.
And
LinkedIn wasn't around.
Yeah, so we just gave business card. And then I think that was, for him, that was, wow, okay, and after when he came.
So you met in the airport.
Yeah. Nothing happened for me.
Just randomly.
Just chat,
Were you queuing for the same flight or?
No, different. He was, I think, on his way to Germany.
And how did you cross into each other?
Sometimes in transit lounge or something, they were delayed. And so the fact was that, chatted. For him, it was, ooh.
She gave me her card.
Yeah, interesting.
There's a sign.
Yeah. I think for him, it meant something when he saw me. I just tell you, it's better if he tells you the story, because I have not. And I said, okay, I do this, that. But I think after that, he followed up a lot. And
He rang you?
yeah, rang. And every week there's a letter or there's a card. And of course, there was a phone call, and it was weird. But every week there's a phone call, or every 1 or 2 calls. Until I think the one day when he called, I just came home from a long day and had rehearsals, choir rehearsals, and I was really tired. So he rang and says, "Guess what? I'm cooking stir-fried beef." This. I said, "Oh wow!
You're cooking."
He said he's cooking.
Yeah.
So that was in Australia. And I said, "Oh." I said, "I wish you could cook for me." I said, that was my turn. I think that was like
you
when
were
I
hungry.
turned, yeah, perhaps I was tired and hungry. And I said, I think I paid more attention to this. I was looking forward to the calls and the letters. It was relentless. It was cards and calls. And I think he was very certain.
Yeah.
I think more certain when he realized I was a Christian.
Okay. He was also Christian.
He was a Christian for sure, but he really wanted a partner who was a Christian. I think that was the clincher for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew, he knew that. And then for me, I suppose being Christian is very important in my life.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who meets him will like him straight away. He's such a. I wish you had met him when he was
full capacity.
Adventurous. He was just funny. Oh, he made me laugh a lot on the phone calls, and that's given.
So then he came to
visit
to Singapore to visit.
Yeah, and straight away we just caught on like I've known him forever. So he was very certain about it, and I think I was the one who was yes, no, okay. Because at the time I was already a PR in Australia, but I just needed an excuse to just be there.
No better excuse.
No better excuse than this. I had 5 years to make up my mind. This is almost nearly there, or something like that. So I was already at that stage. So perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think
He proposed?
Oh yes, it's quite incredible. I knew he was going to do that because he was so restless, and it was in Christmas time. He did it in a cable car in Singapore. Do you know what
Beautiful.
it is?
Yeah.
It is from to Sentosa.
Sentosa Island.
He joked about it later, and in his speech he said, "It's either you say yes or out you go." It was his way of being funny. I don't recall saying yes at that time. I was so nervous, and I said, "Oh, But I think later on, I remember it was over a balcony that I said, "Okay, sure.
Let's do it."
Yeah.
Did you get married in Singapore or in Perth?
All right, no. We got registered. Yeah, we had what do you call that in Perth?
Civil marriage.
What do you call that person that marries?
Marriage celebrant.
Yeah, celebrant. In the
council office.
Yeah, in the office.
Yeah.
There was a very clear cut. And a week later.
Very official.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, or a week later, it was the church ceremony, which is in Malaysia. Or in
so you traveled to Malaysia to be together with the family, of course.
Because all my family would come from the UK.
Yeah.
And all my cousins would come from Malaysia, and it was more for me, I think, because I know the rest of my life I will be in Perth. So that was more for my family and my church family, my business family, my cousins, my relatives. There was all mine.
Yeah.
For me. Finally, Grace is getting married. It was in my 40s at that time.
Wow. And all your sisters were already married?
Yeah.
So you were the only one that didn't tie the knot until over 40?
Yeah, I would say I had various other people, but not.
Yeah. So you moved to Australia with Robert?
Yeah, I lived with him, and it was blissful. Nathaniel, it was actually very fulfilling for, I think I can say, for the two of us. For him, for me, I think we have the same goals. It's not hard to not be blissful about it. God was important.
Yeah.
He is very adventurous. He would take his bike out at speeds I can't disclose to you.
Of course.
But he would take me out, and I love the bike rides with him because they were just because he loves me, to have me out, with him when the weather's cool. And he would say, "Oh, let's take the bike to church." Okay. Helmet hair day or something, it's fine. He just loves it.
Yeah.
Anything he can fix, he's so good with everything. Like he can just pick up anything, he can fix anything which is broken.
Wonderful. What was his job?
He repairs, looks after generators, and
So engineering.
Yeah. Generator, any big generators is a lot of heavy lifting.
Was he fly in, fly out, or was he in town?
Oh, at one time he was.
Mm-hmm.
At one time when he met me, he was actually 5 foot. I didn't know what it meant at that time, because that allowed him to visit me in Singapore.
And spend time with you?
Yeah, if he would have one suitcase packed, he would come back, pick up the other one, and off to Singapore for 2 weeks.
And then come back and go straight to work.
And then come. And that
pattern
opportunity
could only happen if he did FIFA.
That's the only way that he could court me in Singapore.
How long was the courting?
I can't remember. Not too long, because it was every 2 weeks.
So you settled in Australia well?
I think so, because I was quite used to this place. Yeah, I had.
And you started work?
Yeah.
You started work?
And then the following year, I got married. Yeah, I got a full-time job the next year in 2008, I believe. It was
in music?
Weird. I look after the music department at this college, Christian college.
Where you still are now?
No, I gave that up 2017 when Robert passed.
Okay.
I already tendered my resignation already much before that. Of course, on hindsight, I wish I had done it earlier.
So, and then obviously, how long in your marriage? 7, 8 years in your marriage before he was diagnosed with motor neuron?
Yeah. Maybe a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just go back a year or two?
Sure.
When I was 2014, for some reason, a car accident. Because of the nature of this, I had to go for full x-rays after that. It picked up a sort of a little growth. It wasn't much at my right lung. So that was, in 2015, I finally had the operation done. I wasn't going to, because it didn't feel anything.
Yes.
And finally the surgeon said, right, the year before 2014, rang my husband to say, your wife's got to come in now, because, I was just too busy to go, When finally I did, he says, let's schedule the surgery. I said, but we booked tickets from Malaysia. We'll do it after. So it all happened in 2015. And I thought I'll be fine, because I didn't.
Was it quite a tough, deep surgery? It was very invasive?
It was, if you think about it, it would be, because it would be called a lobectomy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they would take the upper lobe, but they have. Mm-hmm. Because it was malignant. But it was at a very early stage of lung cancer. And for a non-smoker and non-environment that smokes, maybe in the past, I can't tell. But apparently it do exist.
Yes.
In some studies have shown a funny pattern. And because it was such an early stage, and it's staged 1B, I have some options of not, informed choice not to go into chemotherapy.
Yeah. And
so they watched me. The surgeon was wonderful. He watched me for about 5 years. And early this year, he said, you're free to go.
Hallelujah.
I don't have to see me again. And it was delayed because, there was also a problem. When it happened with Robert the following year, I didn't have time to attend to my my own appointments. So 2015, 2016, this is probably the darkest patch of, it was like almost 15, 16, 17, darkest time in my life.
So he was diagnosed in
2016 in June, I remember.
Did you know at the time what motor neuron meant?
We didn't know. He didn't know. In fact, it was Friday, but Monday he went in to check out why his carpal tunnel surgery he had was not getting well. So he was scheduled into the same neurologist who said, come back for test on
Yeah.
Friday. We'll do the ETS, which is electrical charges and so on. And he says, but I suspect it's MN. You know, I don't know why he said that. The minute he said that, so Robert went home. I said, what is happening? He went to search as always.
Yes.
And I remember very clearly on Monday, I just happened to bring home at lunchtime, which sometimes I know he went to see the doctors.
Yes.
And he says, he was in tears. And he said to me, I don't want to leave you. Because, you know, when you Dr. Google,
yeah,
and
tells you the worst.
Yeah, motor neuron. Already, it was a suspicious that it could, you know, he had the symptoms. He didn't know what happened to his torso.
Yes.
And of course, you know, in January, he didn't understand why it comes and goes. He'd keep telling this hand, but it was one of the early signs.
Yes.
He sensed it. And the carpal tunnel didn't repair itself. And of course, he felt a bit, and the GP sent him for physiotherapy because his torso was a bit, had no strength.
Yeah.
All these we couldn't tell, you know, when actually finally you're diagnosed with this finally on Friday. So on Monday he says, in tears, I don't want to leave you. So I said, no, it won't be that. And then so on Friday I came with him and it was pronounced after a series of tests. And I didn't think he was really that kind. He was just, as a matter of fact, he just announced that it is going to be this motor neuron, but I'm going to we're going to refer you to a specialist at Fiona Stanley.
Yeah.
Which I thought would be just, you know, next week, but it took 3 months for that appointment to happen.
Yeah.
So it was June. Only in September we saw the top neurologist at Fiona Stanley.
And the verdict was pretty
Of course, it confirmed it.
Mm-hmm.
He already confirmed it.
So what did they say to him? You can get anywhere from 2 to 8 years.
Yes, to depending on that the type you had. So at first he was going well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
But at that time I realized, Robert, we need to give up work because this is heavy lifting for you. And we agreed, you know, from there. He agreed July, I think we went off again for a holiday. I said, that's it, no more working. I think from then on he
So where did you go on the holiday? Back to
always Malaysia at that time because, you know,
mm-hmm.
we had our own place.
And was his health deteriorating gradually, slowly, or how awkward was this disease?
In June, July, I think it wasn't so pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
It was just early. I know when it was pronounced in June, it was like a death sentence, you know. But I was busy looking for cures online, vitamins and this and that. Course. And he was busy looking at the Bible. He didn't bother.
Oh, he was getting ready in another way.
Yeah.
And he was leading people to the Lord.
And he just took...
He channeled all his energy into the Word.
He didn't bother with what... And just took the vitamins just to please me.
Yeah.
Because I have a bunch of vitamins, bunch of packets for them on Monday and this. It was going to work for a little bit because he wants things to be normal.
Yeah.
And that's something about Robert. He doesn't let on more than I should know.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire time.
He kept it.
And he wants to wear, you know, he wants to wear jeans, he wants to wear this, and, you know, it was hard to wear. It was a look normal.
Yeah.
I said, look, you can't do this job anymore. And we understood.
And that's how he started the school as well.
Yeah.
To gain deeper understanding.
Yeah.
And he did amazing job with the school because his work was outstanding. His written work was outstanding. Even his sermon when he preached.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, we had to give him feedback, as you do.
Yeah.
But he was amazing. Like, he was...
I was there.
And I think it was beautiful that he got to do all of those.
Yeah.
And of course, part of the school, he had to, for 2 of the subjects, for Christian ministry and also for discipleship, he had to write a journal for 6 weeks.
Yeah. I was going to bring that journal.
I have one here.
Yeah. They should be in your library.
Yeah.
Because it...
Would you like to hold it while we talk? Would you like one? I have it here.
I should have brought it.
I will give it to you. Just wait. It's here in my drawer. It's that close to me.
Yeah. As part of the school of ministry,
there you go.
He had to do a
it's
journal.
Diary of Robert Eberg.
Yeah, he had to do a journal writing. And I remembered every day, every morning he'll wake up, what shall I write today? And off he goes, turn on his laptop and da 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 da. And every morning he would just do that, and then we'll have breakfast together usually, and then that was our pattern. And then I'll just go off. Some days I have a late start, and 3 days a week we have someone coming in from the association to help.
To help you.
Yeah, there was, and so every morning he would be typing something that from his heart. It was very natural. He was not.
Yeah.
And I think whatever that comes to his mind, he would just type, and the words would just come because it's so real for him.
I've read it all, of course.
Yes, and then sometimes he will have this. He can't sleep, and it would be this dream, and then he will just say, "What is that?" Yeah, he was searching. He was. I could see the presence of God in him.
Yeah.
Every day, and I just watch him every night. He would just read the Bible and then pray, and then go. I said, can you read it for me too? No, you got to read it yourself, please.
Yeah.
I wanted something he had.
Yeah.
And he had this beautiful presence of God that had no fear of death. It just doesn't matter. I know where I'm going. I remember him saying, "Doesn't matter." Okay, I remember him saying, "This is it." And I remember where he was when he was saying it. And I said, "No, this isn't it." My expectations are always quite different. And I did work on it.
Yeah.
This is not it. But I said, but he knew. But yet he had faith that he'll be the exception, that God would just raise him, that God would just heal him. And that was our faith, and that faith was real.
Yeah.
Yes, he's totally healed, completely healed, but God has a different purpose for him and for me, Yeah.
How difficult was it for you when you found out that he passed away?
It was. Now I realize it's trauma. It's traumatic because I found him on the floor.
Massive gap. Well, you found him, yeah?
Yeah.
You came from school?
I came back from work, and I was annoyingly delayed by some traffic, and also by a couple of things. I was getting ready for the final year concert, and I didn't understand. I just said goodbye. I didn't say goodbye in the morning.
Yeah.
Normally I would. That day we didn't kiss goodbye. No, nothing. So it was very unusual. Every day I would, except that morning.
Yeah.
And so I found him on the floor and on this rug. It was just sleeping like that, so peaceful.
No struggle, no signs.
Nothing. Just sleeping as he normally sleep, with his hands like that, with his head, just like that,
When you saw him on the floor, did you know that he would be gone, or you thought he had a fall?
No, I just had to do the CPR, and when I rang emergency, they said, "Do this, keep counting." And I was praying, I keep counting. Don't stop counting, and I was praying and counting until they finally came. The paramedics came and took over, and they did some more CPR and
defibrillator.
Yeah, defibrillation. And I was just praying that God, you would just, because there was some strange prophecy that said he will be healed by an electric shock. I said, "Come on, keep going." And then finally I says, "We need to bring him to Royal Perth," and it doesn't look quite good. And so they took him. That was the last I saw him in the house.
Was there any pulse at any stage?
I didn't check. I just kept going.
They never said.
Yeah.
Was he revived? No.
No. But I was able to trace back the last through the laptop, the last entry of what he was doing. It was 2:33 or something.
Yeah.
What I think now that I know what happened was his diaphragm all that while has been heavily compromised.
Sure.
Although he looked quite normal, you looked at him and.
But on the inside, the chest.
It's the chest with the diaphragm.
The lungs gave up.
That's what happened. Or the thoracic, the cardiothoracic area.
Well, that's what happens. You suffocate.
Yeah, and I did ask my cardiothoracic surgeon, because when I was visit with Robert, and he explained something to me that was of huge comfort, because when he passed, I remember going back to my appointment and said, "Look, he would have would have been painless.
Yeah.
You know? And that was the most comforting thing he said to me. But when I just couldn't believe it. I thought he would just jump up. But the thing about this is I carried a huge guilt.
Yeah.
And that was because I wasn't at home when the time he needed me most. That burden was absolutely, I carried even for a long time till only recently, because I thought if I were home, I would have the power to keep him alive. He'll be alive till now, and I won't have to be alone by myself and no one to talk to. I still thought that, by me being there, which it happens quite like, okay, come on, let's do some ventilation, let's put our machine on now. He doesn't quite like it, but we have to keep putting the home ventilation on. That was something he had to do. Again, I didn't see a lot of things, and I had this guilt for a long time. Only until recently, the concept of substitution, what Christ did on the cross, that he has taken all that condemnation, all that rejection, all that burden, and given us this incredible, life, that the everlasting life, which Robert has stepped into. And I understood that burden, all that we deserved, that he actually died on the cross for. And why am I carrying this burden as though Christ, that wasn't good enough for me? And that took a while. I knew in my head, but it didn't get to my heart. That journey took a long time, as it always. So I'm only too recently after I realized I can't carry this burden of guilt. I can't go on if I keep doing that. Although I love you so much, you mean the world to me, you can't be the most important person in my life, Whereas someone asked me, funny things, people ask me, strange things when you're grieving, Now I realize can be quite insensitive, and you're already heightened. Your sensitivity is heightened. Everything just bothers you. And I remember it was a pastor who asked me, "Do you love Robert more than you love God?" And that was very confronting because I know the short answer. Of course, I do, because I can see him. He loves me back. But only later now, I didn't answer that question, by the way. I just redirected it. I thought it was quite a cruel question, but annoying question, not cruel, but annoying. A lot of annoying things happens when you are grieving. For you, it's annoying.
Yeah, they irritate you.
Yeah, lots of other funny questions were asked of me at that time.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to direct it to rework the pain. I think you found me at the point of pain.
Yeah.
And I had to write journals like Robert.
You did. Well, you actually took on the school, and you finished the school, and you graduated the Australian School of Ministry, which Robert started, but you took on the full journey yourself, and you did. You've honored him by finishing this, but you also honored your own journey and God above all.
That's why you are so important, because I wasn't thinking of that. I remember meeting you and I said, can I just finish the 3 units or something? Yes. And then you said, no, that you're starting from here. And you didn't realize at that time, it just gave me or saved my life, because I just needed a reason to get out of bed.
Yeah.
For months and days and weeks, and you just didn't know how to continue living.
Yeah.
And you didn't know, not that you want to die, but you just didn't know where to go, what am I going to do? I know I can't do this anymore. But
your family's not here, you're on your own. Yeah. And you're grieving, and it's painful. And nothing prepares you in life for this. It's not like you go to school to get ready for grief.
No.
Obviously, you've had a good support circle around you. You've had some good people around you. You also came to our church, which was quite supportive as well.
Yeah.
You also went through a program of
I did.
Grieving, which has been very helpful.
Yeah, that was, yes, I did. I knew about it, it's a grief share program. But I think, as you said, the ASOM course.
And then the ministry, we went overseas into missions, into Indonesia.
That was It was an excuse for me to get away because I saw the dates. Oh, perfect. It was the time of the death anniversary. I need to get out of the house. So I said, okay, I'll sign up for this. But it was incredible.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, it was just so back to back.
I mean, we did Palu, where the tsunami hit.
Yes.
And what an amazing ministry. We dedicated a church there.
Yeah.
Then we went to Kapet Canaan.
Yeah.
And
like
then to
Robert, I journaled
Kalimantan.
every day.
Yes.
I had all my notes of it was a real experience.
Jungle mission.
Yes.
In darkness, seeing
Yes.
little kids being saved. Amazing testimony.
Amazing.
What a
The new world
full
of
pack.
like the spirit was animistic, and so there was other things. I knew where I was going. I could speak Bahasa Indonesia, but I made some blunders. I remembered going into the village with Jeff Hammond.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use my Bahasa to speak to these children. And of course I already prepared it, and so I spoke. Ooh, okay. But because I spoke in Malaysian Bahasa, this one word that it was a faux pas, sorry. And I committed this faux pas because he said, you cannot use budak, which is to call children, because it means in Indonesian, slaves.
Yes.
And I called them that.
Oh.
He told me that later. He corrected me later. But I think meeting Jeff Hammond was quite incredible.
Yeah.
In that Kapit Kanan is a little village where all these people who were persecuted come to, and where he teaches pastors and so on.
Now you also made a commitment to the Lord and was baptized as well in our church.
Yeah, I did, because it was water baptism, but it was immersion. But Robert wanted me to have. I saw the reason for that too.
Yeah, which has been tremendous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've journeyed into another level of ministry, because now you're ministering to others as well. It's not just Christianity is not something that you do, it's something that you are, and you're sharing your faith more and more, aren't you?
I would think this is not going back, of course, but I'm not safe for that.
Yeah.
For my to have an everlasting life. And if if this pain could be reworked into something that can flourish, what I've walked through, it has to be, I don't want to waste the sorrow. They say don't waste your sorrows, and that book I read was true. I was very certain that I don't want to wait. It has to be a purpose.
Yeah.
Why am I spared the lung cancer? Why am I spared this and that? And why did I have such an incredible, blissful life before that? For what? And I remember now when the pandemic hit, number one, I didn't realize last year that the lockdown, I became depressed for the first week. I didn't have desire to get up, because then I realized, this is exactly the same pattern as when everybody just vanished. When after the funeral, I was just left alone in this house. And I had to cope with being silent for weeks and months. It reminded me of that time, and I realized, that's the signs are there. So, now I realized that I got to manage it a bit better. I got to do things. And suddenly Zoom came in, and other people showed up in my dining table. And then so on from Zoom. And then later on, because I didn't say goodbye to Robert, and you realize you're lucky to say goodbye to your loved one on an iPad nowadays. Sometimes you just see your loved one just disappear into the hospital and never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And to bury them later on. So this is what I thought. Why did I go through this experience that I didn't say goodbye? And I think I can understand. I can empathize with anyone who
who's gone through that same
chapter. Haven't said goodbye to their beloved husband or a loved one.
Mm.
But of course, can you imagine if you're not a Christian and you didn't know about God? And can you imagine Robert not knowing, especially with this disease, that they will just squeeze the life out of you and every breath that you have, and not knowing where you're going? There'd be so much fear. But Robert wanted to tell everybody. And I think it's the same message. I know his heart.
Yes.
And his heart, maybe I won't be a chaplain of the motorcycle club, but I know that I can still continue to preach the gospel.
You have your own calling.
Yeah, and I know it's to his, we have our grandchildren. I think that's very important for us to speak life and encourage them.
So they
I
are
know-
from Robert's previous marriage, because
Yes.
you didn't have children together,
Yeah.
did you? What's the legacy you'd like to be known by your grandchildren, these adopted grandchildren?
Okay, I would, I wouldn't go out there and form a legacy, but I hope God will I would just plan a future, and I pray that God will bless it if it is.
Yeah.
Then it will flourish as a legacy.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm gonna deliberately do it, but I think with God's help, for the grandchildren, to learn about God and make it an important part of their life.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what Dad would want, and their puppy would want, and I know that's exactly what Robert would want for their lives, to make it count, and that would be amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me just have that book. Yeah, I just want to read maybe one piece from Diary of Robert Eberg. So I'll just randomly read one. Tuesday, 8th of August, 2017. Today I was seeking guidance from the Lord regarding area of service when I am restored. So he believed in restoration. And the Spirit said, you do not need to wait. Go as you are and preach the message of Jesus. There will be opportunities here and in Malaysia to speak to not only to the sick, but also those who need healing.
Wow. Yeah. He used to lay hands on people and they felt better and they were healed.
Yeah.
He had that gift.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah.
Thursday, 10th of August, 2017. This morning, during my quiet time of prayer and intercession had finished, I began to pray in the Spirit. When the Spirit spoke to me clearly that I needed to pray for Stephen Ong, founding member of New Life Community Church in Malaysia. The Spirit did not indicate why, only to pray for him, so I did. I prayed for the covering of Jesus' blood over him.
Wonderful.
I mean, it's just amazing to
And you may want to read the last.
The very last
the
one.
last posting, yeah. Because
I'll read the
that
last
morning I remember I said I'm going to write this.
Yeah.
And you won't believe it, there are about 200 or almost 300 of these copies.
Have you given away?
We reprinted a few because people wanted them.
So Friday, 24th of November, 2017. That was the last.
Yes, it was the morning.
But now this is what the Lord says. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. Wow. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. In my study of the words, this is probably just an hour and a half before he passed away.
No, that was in the morning.
Oh, this was in the morning.
I know that he wrote it
A few hours.
Yeah, right in the morning before breakfast, he would just type it off.
I received this revelation from the Lord. Panic and fear is the product of the trouble. When faced with troubling situations, we go through fear, worry, and then we pray. We need to rid ourselves of this wrong belief that we have been conned into accepting. We are His. We belong to God. So we must rid ourselves of the wrong thinking of fear, panic, and worry, and approach God by thanking Him and surrendering to Him in every situation. We rid ourselves of fear and worry, take up our authority in Christ and move that mountain. Matthew 17:20. Whoa. So he understood. He wasn't fearful.
No.
There was no panic.
Nothing.
He was in complete surrender to the Lord.
Yeah, it was incredible company to be with, because whoever came into the house just went away with so much encouragement and positive.
They came to encourage him, yet they went away more encouraged.
For sure. And I miss that person that I can talk to,
Yeah.
the person that he was.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that was very powerful. And
well, this is a really beautiful. That's why I hold this so dear. That was
I have
so handy for me to retrieve it. And obviously, I've had the privilege to meet Robert and spend some time with him. He used to come to my classes and just sit there, and you came with him, and he really enjoyed being part of the
he did.
community. And he desired to save people. He was there. He was like a child, absorbing every word.
Exactly.
Loved Dr. Bob's teaching as well.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
really followed him suit.
Yeah.
So amazing life. What a beautiful man. And what a beautiful life he's had. And what a
Yeah.
beautiful life you have. You know, he still lives in you.
Yeah,
He's alive in you.
very much.
He'll never be. He's alive in me, but in obviously more capacity in you.
Yeah.
And he's touched many lives. And we're
I
just
think
so
so.
blessed to have known
Which
him.
is why I think going forward will be that mind that I know that he has, that I can't, of building, that preaching the gospel in a way that glorifies the Lord. That's what he always wanted.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Grace.
And thank you for inviting, because I didn't think I have anything to share. I said, why?
Oh, you've got so much to share.
And I thought, oh.
Look, in our greatest pain, that's when the Lord works the most. And, that's how the character of Christ is formed in us through pain.
Yeah.
In the world, we will have trouble, and that is part of life.
True.
And that's what makes us who we are today, because we depend then on the Lord.
True. I think this person I am now is a better version of the person I was 10 years ago. If not for these things, if this the whole purpose for all this, then God be the glory.
Yeah.
I think the future is more transforming to do for me.
Beautiful.
But I'm looking forward.
It's good to see you on the other side, in a sense,
Yeah.
I know you're in a deep valley, but to glorify the Lord even today, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well, friends, what an amazing story. To God be the glory, even in the deepest pain, to lose your life partner and just to suffer and grieve, and yet to hang on to that hope that we have in Christ Jesus. I don't know what you're going through at the moment, but let me tell you something. There's power in the Lord Jesus, in the restoration that he brings. And as Robert, to his final day, chose to depend on God, not to fear, not to panic, I just pray that you don't give up. And if you're grieving right now, just know that this season will go. Give God the glory and let him deal with you and let him heal you and restore you. And just journey with him, because there's much more for you out there. We bless you. We thank you. Share this content with other people who may be needing this content. I'm sure you know some people that need this. Love them by sharing this content with them. Rate, subscribe this podcast, wherever you're consuming it. And come back next time. Bless you from Kingdom Stories from Down Under.
Thank you for joining us on Kingdom Stories from Down Under. We'd love it if you would subscribe, rate, and share these stories with your wider community. And remember, every story is worth sharing, including yours.